Welcome back in, everybody. Another edition here of the Auburn Undercover podcast on the 24/7 Sports Network. My name is Nathan King, joined today by our publisher, Ronnie Sanders, and we have a very special guest on the show here today. Please welcome Mr. CJ Anderson, former Cal running back. Obviously, Auburn takes on Cal this weekend. Also a former All-Pro running back and Super Bowl champion with the Denver Broncos. So, CJ, thank you so much for coming on here today. How excited have you been for the start of football season?
Just glad it's back. It's the best time of the year. Even though I'm not playing anymore, it's still the best time of the year, and it's fun. Thanks you guys for having me.
Does it feel weird to say that you're now rooting every Saturday for an ACC program?
It's a little different. Even I went to the game last week. Cal played Davis, and just seeing right the ACC logo on the field. Right. I mean, it was different when seeing the Pac-12 logo on the field, like having 12 teams and not 10 teams. It's just different. Right. But obviously, it's a golden opportunity and a great opportunity for Cal getting a chance to play in Carolinas and Atlantas. And, we go down to Tallahassee this year. I mean, we play you guys, play Auburn on national television. So those things definitely helps the program push it further past the West Coast, as it's always been known for.
So, CJ, how does Cal fit in the ACC?
So there's some other academic schools. I'm not talking outside of Stanford because obviously Cal and Stanford moved together. But you got Duke, you got Wake Forest that are like strong academic institutions that you hear about. Obviously, Duke is like one of those really strong academic institutions, and that's how Cal fits there. I think we've always, like, I remember my time at Cal. We've had a couple kids, from Carolina, Keenan Allen, right, being one of them, right, who's playing really well in the league. We also have kids from Atlanta who's been a part of the program as well. So we've recruited out there before and probably have to explain to Keenan Allen, while he was in Greensboro, try to explain to him, like, hey, this is California and this is what this is. It's not surfing and all that stuff that it's not just about that, right? We play football down this way too. But I think it fits. It just gives them an opportunity to continue to recruit in those areas as we've done in the past.
Is that pretty common for Cal or national recruiting?
It wasn't when I played. I mean, like I said, we had a couple. So obviously LA, the Bay Area, and Texas were majority of the roster when I was there. But now when you look at the roster now, it's all over. And when I was speaking all over, I'm not just the West Coast. So obviously you got, Washington, Arizona, Oregon. But now they're recruiting past, like there's a couple kids from Louisiana that's on the roster right now, or that's been on the roster in the past. Obviously, when Sonny was there, Sonny was recruiting cats from Mississippi when Sonny Dykes was there during his time. So it's getting pushed out now. And I think, playing away from home, obviously I didn't never have to do that until I got in the NFL, but playing away from home is kind of tough on kids. But now having that chance, like, hey, you're going to come back and play, Wake Forest, North Carolina, NC State. We're going to come to Carolina one of these times or maybe twice a year. We're going to come back to Florida because of who we play, right? I mean, Clemson's in South Carolina too. So we're going to come to these different states and these different cities where you can see your kids play, where they can have that home cooking, home feeling from those recruits there. So I think that helps as well.
CJ, just to kind of give Auburn fans a taste of your resume, Broncos, Panthers, Raiders, Rams, and Lions. You won Super Bowl 50 with the Broncos, a Pro Bowler there in 2014. But when you went back to Cal, talk about that experience as a volunteer assistant. I guess what sort of brought you to that decision after you were done in the NFL?
So probably year 6 or year 7 of my time in NFL, I kind of knew I wanted to coach. I had a bunch of different coaches. Coach Eric Studerville, who's a running back coach in Miami. Obviously, Gary Kubiak, who's been a Super Bowl winning coach, not with just us, but also in his time with the Broncos earlier, being a coordinator for Mike Shanahan. Sean McVay was another one. I had a lot of coaches who said, like, hey, man, you got a knack for this coaching thing. Like, you can really get to it. And I chose college because what I can bring back. I have so many different connections. We're in Silicon Valley, right? Mecca capital of a lot of money down here in the Bay Area. And I have a lot of connections with these different companies that we use, DocuSign, Google, right? I know we're not using Zoom, but like Zoom, Salesforce. And I know a lot of the high execs or a lot of the founders and the people. And having that connection with college, that's what stood out to me to go coach college, because every kid's not going to be myself or Nick Furley, Cam Newton from Auburn, or Marshawn Lynch and Jabba Best, or Aaron Rodgers from Cal. They're not going to have opportunity to play in the NFL, but if you can give them something bigger outside of football, right, where they can still, go work, make six figures, have good jobs as that. So that's what kind of attracted me to college. And then when I got back to Cal during COVID, you kind of didn't get the full experience. I think we only played 4 games that year. So you kind of don't get the full experience. But then when I got to Rice, it was a full experience. But coming back home, coming back to UC Berkeley, and just seeing it and what J-Dub is doing over there was good to see.
CJ, talk a little bit about Auburn. From a Cal fan perspective, what was the Cal reaction to the Auburn game last year, and what's the reaction of the fan base of coming to Auburn for the first time this week?
Well, it was super shocking when we saw y'all on the schedule last year, and the fact that y'all was coming to little old Berkeley, right? You guys are 100,000 strong down there in Alabama, and our little 60,000 stadium definitely doesn't appeal. Then it's a night game too. Obviously, the game last year was really good. You guys came out, I think 14-10, something like that. But sitting back this year, right? Everybody's talking about going down to Auburn because they see the experience. Like, they've seen the Tiger Walks, right? They've seen the crowd on CBS when you guys do play on national television, and certain times when you guys are playing at home, right? Whether it's against LSU or whether the Iron Bowl against Alabama, they see that atmosphere, and we travel, so we don't have a lot of Berkeley fans down there. I mean, we won't be as loud as you guys, of course, but they're super excited for our kids to get that experience. It's no difference in 2012 when we went down to Ohio State and we got to see like the horseshoe, and I got to play in that and see the atmosphere of that. So it gives our kids that type of notoriety and that respect that hopefully they can get, and obviously if they can go pull it out, that'll help them even more.
Yeah, I gotta say, CJ, we made that trip last year. We were really, really looking forward to it. Obviously, all summer. Week 2 going out to California. Really, really nice people. Like, walking to campus, a couple of people stopped us in their tailgates and just invited us over. But we stopped for lunch somewhere in Half Moon Bay on Friday, coming down from the mountain. It was awesome, man. Like that whole weekend, and I really do think, and I hope Cal fans get the same experience. We don't have a San Francisco here to be able to go to, so it's a little bit different. The waterfront doesn't look the same, but I do hope they get that same experience, because me personally, that's one of my favorite work trips I've ever taken. I mean, it was just so much fun to go down there.
Yeah, I mean, the fans just sitting in the university club last week, the fans are like super excited, right? Already have their hotel set and where they're gonna go, and a lot of them don't even know about Alabama, right? I mean, you talk about Alabama and California on 2 different sides of the spectrum. A lot of them don't even know about Alabama. They probably have a stigma of what Alabama is. So I'm pretty sure, I hope that they get a great experience when they go down there. Because what you guys do as far as like a program and how the community and how you guys treat you guys football team, it's far beyond none from what I've seen, and obviously from what I've heard when it comes to football down south. I mean, it's the same. Like I said, I was at Rice, and Rice is a small school, but the Houston community and what they did for Houston and the University of Rice is crazy. So I can imagine what it looks like down there in Auburn, and same over there with what you guys rival, in Tuscaloosa.
Well, I've given CJ a baptism in the we've known each other a couple of years now, so we've he knows a little bit more about Auburn now than he did 2 years ago, I think.
There's not a video or not a segment or there's nothing that I don't get from Ronnie that shows the Auburn pride. That pride is real. And then obviously my time in Carolina, I was in Carolina for from the offseason to April until I got traded there in October. And you got an Atlanta, Georgia boy and Cam Newton who loves Alabama, loves Auburn, truly loves it, and talks about it in the locker room all the time, right? It's something we do in the locker room is talk about our different experience. I can never talk about the experience at Cal because that experience has never been that way. We had fans, we sold out seats, but the tailgates and what's going on has never been to the magnitude of how Cam speaks on it, right? So it's crazy. So I'm happy that our kids get that opportunity.
Talk a little bit about this. We were talking before we got rolling, CJ. This matchup, like you said, you were at that game last weekend. We were up getting ready for the Auburn game to start and raising our eyebrows a little bit at Cal's offense in the first half. I know they kind of look like they struggled on third down in the game. Just your sort of impression of that team in week one. And I know obviously, running back Jaden Ott, his status for this game is going to be really big as well. I don't even know if we'll know about it until kickoff.
Yeah, I won't tell you either. So I won't give it away. But I think obviously Mendoza has to settle in. I don't know if they went with the 2 quarterback system thing to try to put pressure on Mendoza or try to get the spark on the offensive side of the football. Obviously, the defense didn't tackle well in the first half, but they completely changed that around in the second half. There's some guys in the portal who did not play week one. I have no idea, like if the receiver from Ohio State or the guy from Notre Dame. I don't know if they're going to play week 2 against you guys. I have no idea on that point. I'm not that deep into it, but I know enough. But I think the matchup is going to be fun. I mean, last year it was a pretty close game. I've told Ronnie this many times. I think Auburn's my surprise team this year, so I do think you guys are going to be way better than what you were a year ago. I got a lot of faith in Hugh Freeze and what he brings and his track record of what he's done. And obviously, there's a lot more talent. Like I said, like there's not a article that don't go by that Ronnie doesn't send me. So there's a lot more talent over there than what Auburn had that last year. But same with Cal. There's a lot. I think they had a top 10 portal class this year. There's a lot more talent than what they've had in the past. Justin has been down. It was Ole Miss. It wasn't Auburn, but he's been down to the SEC before in big environments and found ways to win games. With the talented roster. So it'll be fun. Obviously, if Jaden can play, that'll definitely help. Jaden don't play it, it makes things tougher. But I think offensively, right, if they just settle in, right, obviously complete some passes, if they can establish the run and let Jaden do what he does, that will help. And then obviously defensively, they cannot tackle as bad as they did in the first half, or it will not be close. It'll probably get away from them real early because of the athletes that you guys have on your side of the ball.
Talk about what kind of your thoughts on Justin Wilcox. Talking to Freeze today, defensive minded coach, so he's always going to have that group, a big emphasis on that group. I believe it's goodness, I couldn't tell you. He's been there a while. Obviously, he's one of the longer tenured head coaches now in that league. Just kind of your opinion of him, the job he's done, and kind of what they need to do this year.
So he's been there 8 years. This has been his 8 years. He's defensive minded, so the defense is always usually on task. I think in his 8 years, this is his 4th or 5th offensive coordinator. So that tells you what the offense has, looked like over the last 8 years that he's been there. When he first got there and he's won some games, like, he went down to North Carolina, beat North Carolina, right? Went down to Ole Miss, beat Ole Miss, right? He's had some spark games and haven't had a chance to sustain it and continue it just with, USC being what they were at one point. Before they completely fell off with Clay Helton. No disrespect. I know he's at Georgia State right now. Obviously, Mario Cristobal, what he had going over there at Oregon. I can't remember who was at Washington at the time. I don't know. I don't think it was Chris Peterson. But I do know as far as Wilcox and what he's brought to the program, he's trying to bring that physicality, trying to bring smart football players, trying to get them to understand, why we do things, how this program is. Justin Wilcox was a linebacker coach when I played at Cal, so he kind of understands the Cal family and what we are. Obviously, we were really competitive back when we had Jeff Tefford, and he's had some ebbs and flows and some ups and downs. But with this portal class being what it is, the high school class being what it coming in at the top as well, they're expecting big things out of Wilcox this year, and hopefully he can provide that.
Talk a little bit about you've got some ties to some Auburn guys. Tyke Tolbert, who we both know, I met Tyke, was the tight ends coach when I was at Auburn, and we were at Florida together. Tyke helped me get on at Florida, and then I think you Tim Cook and Cam Newton as well. So talk a little bit about those relationships for the Auburn fans.
So Tyke's my boy. I think he's in Tennessee right now as a receiver coach.
He is.
Yeah, I think he's in Tennessee right now. But me and Tyke, when I came in my rookie year, it was Tyke that kind of was like, man, this kid can play, and we need to look at this kid more, and we need to push more. And he kind of like took me under his wing along with my running back coach on how I need to make the team. And me and Tyke, as his daughters are, one of his daughters is in college, I think his other daughter's in high school. We have kind of grown our relationship over the 5 years that I had in Denver, and even till today. I talked to Tyke like 2 months ago before he got the Tennessee job when he was in Chicago. So Tyke Tyke enjoys Auburn. Obviously, we know he's an LSU guy, but he enjoys Auburn.
He loves some LSU. You know,
he loves his LSU Tigers.
His oldest, he loves LSU more than or not as much as I love Auburn.
Right.
But his oldest daughter's there now, and
Yep.
I think he may have does he not have a house in Baton Rouge? I think he does, but
he might. I don't know. He might. I mean, it would make sense. But I do know he has spoken about his time at Auburn and just the community and how he loved it. And then obviously playing with Cam, Cam a different cat now. I'm pretty sure everybody sees that, right? And how he is. But playing with him and he loved Auburn for what it did. Different experience than when he had at Florida. And not because he was older, and obviously he had the trouble and those things. But when he talks about what the coaching staff and what they did for him, and not just him, right? His mom and his dad and what they did for him there. Even though he had the crazy allegations that came out that never got proven to be true. Playing with Cam, having that experience was a fun experience. It was completely different than playing with a guy like Peyton Manning. So just understanding like the two different the assets of what they bring to the football game. I learned a lot from Cam Newton as well. Like some people think Cam Newton can't read defenses. No, that's not true at all. Cam is very capable and super smart when it comes to those things. And I kind of had that stigma on him at first too. When we beat him in the Super Bowl, and I go play with him 2 years later. Right. And then I'm like, oh, nah, like we're watching the Super Bowl together. And he's like, man, CJ, I'm finna throw this. And I'm like, man, that's open. Thank God Vaughn got to you before you got the ball off, So you look at some of those things, and that's what Cam. And then my thing with Tim Cook is crazy, right? So I knew Steve Jobs from my time at Cal. In the mix of that, it was this guy that was always around, just this quirky, skinny guy that was always around. It was Tim, and me and Tim has grown a relationship over some time. And I got some time to sit with him last year when he came out to the game. And at that time, it was crazy. Like the time where I met him, I didn't even know he was an Auburn guy. Right, like who coming out of technology at Auburn, right? Because I got the stigma on like what Auburn is too at that time, and like when you see it, it's different. But it's good. Like him last year, just sitting next to him at the game last year, he just loves. Obviously, he does a lot for the university. I'm pretty sure he does a lot for the program as well, right? But he loves Auburn and what it did for him, right? He has a lot of stories that I can't share. He has a lot of stuff. I'm pretty sure you got some crazy wild college stories as well. He got a lot of stories out there, and Tim's a good guy. So it's good to have those connections and to know those people.
Yeah, I wish you were coming to the game this weekend. I could show you around. There's my favorite bar when I was in college. It's called the Supper Club, and it would stay up to 4 a.m. Used to close it down, and it closed about 9 years ago. It's about to reopen. I think it was this weekend or next weekend. So we're gonna have to get you down here for a game when you get some time.
Yeah, man. I'm and don't count it out. It ain't over yet. It's only Monday. I know. Raquel is supposed to go to Brazil, so somebody has to watch our daughter. I'm trying to tell her like, don't go to Brazil. Like, wait, so I can try to go make some moves. But I definitely I'm a free agent right now. I'm not coaching. I'm helping out here and there with people who want to be helped and doing a bunch of podcasts to stay in the football mind. So I can definitely catch any Auburn game this year. I'll call you and tell you I got the ticket set up. Where do I need to stay? And I'll pull up and let's go see the Tigers. Like I said, man, I want Cal to win the game this weekend, so I'm not gonna sit there. Right, Cal fans, don't get on me, right? But I did say like way in the offseason, I think Auburn was gonna be a surprise football team this year. I think, right? And that's just me seeing the talent and knowing what Auburn has been in the past, but. I got a strong belief in Hugh Freeze. I don't know why. I just got a strong belief in who he is as a recruiter. Obviously a little bit offensive minded. Obviously I come from the NFL background, so my offensive minded is a little different. But obviously you've seen the success that he's had everywhere he went. Even when he struggled in the SEC. I can't remember if he was at Arkansas or Ole Miss. I want to say Arkansas though, right?
Well, he was at Ole Miss.
Oh, he was at Ole Miss.
Won a bunch of games.
He won some games at Ole Miss. He had some great players at Ole Miss, right? Which shows what type of recruiter he is, right? So give him some time. I think Auburn is a surprise team in the SEC. I don't know if it's a playoff team. We'll see how that works. But they definitely can go compete and shock some people.
We were talking about Cam a minute ago. Talk about Peyton Manning versus Cam Newton in the locker room and on the field. And What's the difference? Because I know Auburn fans are both those guys are big names in the SEC, so I think they enjoy the story.
One sings Rocky Top all day, right? Another one is dresses a very, very fashionable person, right? But when it comes to football, they take it both serious. Obviously, they take their skill sets and do it best. The best thing that I could have ever gotten from Peyton was him calling me one of the smartest players he ever played with. And the best thing I've ever got from Cam is understanding I was dependable. Like, I mean, Cam gives everybody nicknames, right? And my nickname was June Bug the Dependable, right? That was my nickname for him. Why? I don't even know what a June Bug is. I'm not from the South. So obviously, and I always used to tell him, like, man, show me what that is. Like, show me what a June Bug is. Because if you type it in on Google, it don't pop up, right? So obviously, it's a down south slang term. I don't know what that bug is.
Hey, they're big in the summertime down there. It's really, they start in June, but it's really into July.
Okay. So that's what he called me. But I was super dependable. But when you look at them, obviously, they both play the same position. They play a different way. Peyton has a lot more control at the line of scrimmage than what he wanted to do than what Cam had to do. But what Cam can do, right, in his MVP season, right, in the seasons to come after, and how they both approach the game is pretty special. And I'm glad I got to sit in both, like sitting in both film room sessions. You learn a lot from both of them in different aspects of the game. That's helped you. That's also helped me be a better coach.
What now? I've got a question. I sent you a text last night, but get some SEC inside baseball here. So does Peyton Manning consider himself a Bronco or a Colt?
That's a good question. He lives in Denver, but he does go back to Indianapolis. I would say more Bronco now, because he's still like, whenever you see him, you always see him talk about and affiliated with the Broncos. Even like when he goes back to Denver to like last year or last year or 2 years ago, you went back to 2 years ago, I think, when Russell first got to Denver, right? Like him and Russell Wilson and watching film together. I never seen him do that with Indy, but then obviously the last couple of years, I got a chance to go to the Hall of Fame for certain teammates, and he's all in Jim Irsay's camp and all about the Indianapolis players when it comes to that. So I think he mixes both, but I would say a Bronco just because where he's living and how much he's involved with the Broncos, from at least from what we see from a public eye, than he is with Indianapolis.
Who's more beloved in Denver, Elway or Peyton?
You can't beat the Duke, man. It's the reason why he called it the Duke. Like, ain't no do wrong Elway, man. I used to say this, and I say this in all respect. Man, Elway can go rob the bank and they don't have to go in with no gun or nothing. He can just say, "Hey, man, can y'all put this in my in my bag, man?" And then wire it to my account. They probably do it for Elway. Nah, man, Elway is a strong, powerful name out in Elway. Strong, powerful name out in Colorado. It'll be way bigger. It'll be way bigger than PM for sure.
I've heard stories about Elway for years. I'm probably not anything I need to tell on the podcast, but
just if you heard Elway and the drinking stories, just know that I have two great Elway's drinking stories that I probably would never share. I share without you on a personal thing, not live on no podcast, but let's just say he's fun to be around when he's like that.
Our friend Matt, I think it carried him home one night. He has his own stories.
Yes. That's probably true. If Matt speaks on that, it's probably true. Because I remember, and I'm young. Like, this is year 2, year 3 in the league. And I'm like, this is my boss? Okay. I can deal with this. I can deal with this. I thought this was a formal event. It ain't formal.
How was he as a GM when you were there?
So obviously, towards the end of my career, obviously I had some real strong words for Mr. Elway. I still call him Mr. Elway till today. But when you look at the 5 years that I was there and the acquisitions that he brought in and how that turned out until us winning the Super Bowl, from coaches, right? Obviously, he got Peyton there in 2012. did solid with the draft class in 2012. Like Derek Wolfe was still there. Danny Trevathan was still there. You look at 2013, right? And boom, now that draft class is still strong, and I'm a part of that draft class, even though I was undrafted. Then you look at, right, bringing in Wes Walker, bringing in Emmanuel Sanders. Then you got DeMarcus Ware, Keith Talib, TJ Ward, Darian Stewart. He did a good job as far as like acquisition the team. Yeah, he might have. I mean, a lot of GMs miss. He might have missed on Paxton Lynch, right? He might have missed on another player that was drafted. Might have missed on Monte Ball. No disrespect to Monte. But as far as like what he did as a GM and acquisitions and bringing people in, that helped. And then to use his playing experience too. Like I remember we go. This is a preseason game. This is 2013. 2013, my rookie year. We go to Seattle as a preseason game. Oh, no, 2014. It's the following year. So we lose to Seattle Super Bowl. 2014, the following year. We go to Seattle as a preseason game, and we get destroyed. Preseason game. And we have a team meeting, and Elway comes in and destroys us. Talks about, I was nervous of Jack Lambert in Pittsburgh, and I should have punched Jack Lambert in his face, and we're not physical enough. We don't work hard enough. He attacked us. He attacked us, and that kind of changed, when you hear that, not only from your boss, but from a former great NFL player, it kind of changed our system. And this is a preseason game, right? He's on us about a preseason game. Starters are not even playing, right? But when you look at, like I said, when you look at his acquisition, especially in 2014, I mean, my Pro Bowl jersey is sitting behind me, right? We had like 12 or 13 Pro Bowlers from that team, from where he accumulated. So, he drafted DT. Like, he's done some good things, man. He done some good things as a GM.
Talk a little bit about that. We talked about missing on Paxton Lynch, some of those guys. The Broncos have had issues drafting quarterbacks over the years and having, obviously Elway was drafted by the Colts and traded to, which is kind of interesting with Peyton Manning's background, drafted by the Colts and traded to the Broncos and won, went to 5 Super Bowls and as a player and won 2, and then went to 2 more as a GM and won 1 more. Now you've but the Broncos haven't had a lot of luck drafting quarterbacks, but they did draft Bo Nix, who played at Auburn for 2 years, and his dad won a bunch of games at Auburn as a quarterback. How does he fit in out there? What are you hearing on Bo Nix in Denver?
Well, they're excited. They're excited. I mean, I still think the division belongs to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, but they'll be able to compete for wild card spots, or they'll be able to compete further. I mean, when Bo was at Auburn, obviously you can see the growth from what he learned at Auburn. So, sliding over there in Oregon his last year, or last couple of years, they're super excited about what Bo can do. And I think there's a whole piece to this, right? Like, we talked about Wilcox and him being defensive minded. I strongly believe that hurts young quarterbacks. I think it helps them in a certain way, but I think it hurts them in a certain way because other than when we hear about what Bill Belichick, right, probably the greatest coach ever, right, how he talked to Tom Brady, a lot of those defensive-minded coaches can't get in the offensive mind to help those quarterbacks, right? And I think when you look at somebody like John Fox was a defensive-minded coach, then we end up getting Kubiak, then it ended up being Vance Joseph, right, and it was Nathaniel Hackett, and now it's Sean Payton, right? Well, nothing against Nathaniel Hackett. Obviously, that didn't work out for 16 games. They got rid of him real quick. You got 2 defensive-minded coaches with a young Paxton Lynch. They can help him, but not help him in a way that like Sean Payton is going to help, right? Bo Nix, how Andy Reid is helping, had helped Patrick Mahomes. You know what I'm saying? I think having offensive-minded type coaches, right? I mean, look at Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze go get a young quarterback and grooming it. You never know what can happen because of that offensive-minded type of stuff. And that's just my philosophy. I think that goes a long way. And I think the talent that Elway saw in Paxton and some of those other QBs that they tried to go grab, the talent was there, but like how to groom him and structure him. It's not like Elway was coaching, right? So it's like how to groom him and structure him from the coaches and where that comes from your leader, which is the head coach. And I think having Sean Payton at that helm, probably one of the top, at least one of the top head coaches at that time, but definitely a great play caller and understands right, developing and understand young quarterback minds. I think that helps Bo Nix, just like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I think it helps them a long way, and hopefully Bo can have a successful career.
How important is it? We talked about Hugh Freeze, and he's obviously a much better fit than the last guy that was here, Brian Harsin. Talk about, and I want to tie this into the NFL a little bit. John Fox was obviously fired in Denver, and then immediately Elway turns around and hires Gary Kubiak. And there's this talk about the Bronco way. And there's a little bit of that, there's a parallel there with Auburn and the Auburn family and doing things the Auburn way. And Brian Harsin didn't know anything about that or care anything about it. But fit is really important. Is that important in the NFL? Or is it as important in the NFL as it is in college?
I think so. I mean, I think if you're trying to build a culture and what that is, and you have historical background as a team and what that is, like you look at the Raiders, and when you think of the Raiders, you think of like tough, physical football players. So when you go hire Antonio Pierce, when you go hire Antonio Pierce, that's what you get. You're gonna get that out of that because that's what that organization has put out for so long, right? It's the same, right? In Denver, when they brought in Kubiak not only been here, played there, coached there, coordinated there, won there, understood what it takes to get to that. When you have guys who don't fit that, I mean, like the biggest example in college was like Brady Hoke, wasn't a Michigan guy, didn't understand the Michigan way and the Michigan, what it is. He was a tough, physical, blue collar guy, but he wasn't a Michigan guy, right? But then you get a guy like Jim Harbaugh who's been there, understands it, right? He's a Michigan guy. He understands what Michigan, the community, what they're trying to do in Ann Arbor. And I think that ties in the NFL a lot, especially when you have coaches. Right now, you got a lot of player coaches like DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans he played with the Texans, understand, right, when they were first building what that looks like, bringing that in, right? And obviously, you got the players to do it too, but having that culture and what you can do, whether it's, Hugh Freeze, who's been in the SEC and understand the SEC compared to, BH, who y'all had before, having someone who understands that culture and what that is and what that way is goes a long way because it's the reason why the program or the organizations in the NFL has been successful for so long. I mean, you look at New England, it's the New England way. And what they do, they got rid of Bill and hired Mayo, right? They didn't go hire outside. They went to go hire inside who understands the way, right, to push that culture.
Got a couple more. I won't keep it too much longer. I got a couple more.
You got time.
So I know we're jumping around a little bit, but there are two quarterbacks. I find this interesting. Two quarterbacks in NFL history who have won a Super Bowl and then immediately retired. And both of them are Broncos. Which I always thought was interesting. Talk about, and again, I find your experience with Elway and Peyton and Cam and some of these different other guys really interesting. Where do Elway and Peyton and give me your top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in NFL history. At least
look at that. That's putting me on the spot. Peyton would not like this. I love PM to death. Obviously, I like the Tom Brady story too. 6th-round pick. No one really believed in him. One coach took a chance on him. Obviously, to develop him. Obviously, there's a lot of hard work and the dice rolling your way. I would say Tom is probably the greatest, right? That will help you. Right. I know people want Montana next, but this is kind of where I go Peyton next because Peyton's story is just as strong, right? I think people miss and understand that Peyton led the league in interceptions his rookie year. Like he has the interception rookie record today.
I didn't realize that, I guess.
Yeah, like this, Peyton drafted in 98 and he still holds the record of interceptions as a rookie quarterback.
I didn't realize that.
And I think they even go 3-13 or 4-12. The next year 2 of Peyton go 13-3. Like the change is crazy. And that speaks on his hard work and who he is. And I think Peyton changed the game doing things at the line of scrimmage. Like you're seeing all these up-tempo offenses where people are calling like Peyton was doing that by himself. Right? Obviously helped some coaches, but definitely doing it by himself. So that's there. And then from there, like 3 on down, it's tough, right? Because You talk about winners. Like, I don't think Tom Brady's accuracy was better than Peyton's, right? But then obviously both of their arm strengths is not better than John Elway's, right? Sure. And then you got a guy like Dan Marino, who also gets mixed in his top 5, who never won the Super Bowl, but what he's done and all the records that he broke and how he played the game. And so if I had to go down 3, 4, 5, this is tough. I would say Montana number 3, Elway number 4. Then you got Marino, you got Brett Favre, you got Drew Brees. I mean, we can go now, right? This fifth spot is tough. And this is before like Patrick Mahomes is gonna be somewhere up in here. Aaron Rodgers is gonna be somewhere up in here. Like, to me, Aaron Rodgers is still the most skillful thrower I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes. Like, the way he spins the ball is crazy to me. But I probably would say Marino. I'll probably say Marino at 5. Oh yeah, yes, all the way. You got to get to know him though. So, like, I know him, so it's cool. But if you don't know him, yeah, he will make you feel a little uncomfortable. He will make you feel a little uncomfortable.
The whole retreat in the cave, and the vaccine conspiracies, and
that's A-Rod, man. That's A-Rod, man. I mean, his mind is completely different. I mean, I would say that a lot of us at Cal, we all. Can you imagine, right? You got Marshawn Lynch and Aaron Rodgers, right? They're two different spectrums, but they come together to be friends. But that's the kind of experience you get at Cal. You get that liberal and conservative side at the same time on the same school, right? Like, I remember my biggest thing at Cal, there was a racial protest, and we were all out there protesting against the bake sale, right? It wasn't just, I think last year they're protesting for a teacher, and they stopped the whole Cal USC game before kickoff. Like, you're going to get that. So, like, I'm pretty sure when Aaron Rodgers left Chico, he didn't got that. But when he got to Berkeley, he definitely was woke to some ideas that he believed in, and that's who he is today.
Did they ever get the students out of the trees down there by the football stadium?
Yeah, so that's how we got So look, it's crazy. You know that story. So, man, the buckets, what they used to, use the bathroom, man, and throw them on people was the crazy part. But that's kind of how we got the new facility that we got. We have at the time, it was the PAC. So we had the biggest weight room in the PAC. Right. It was 100,000 square feet, which is still beautiful today. Our athletic center is good. Our training room center, our training table center is really good. Obviously it's not put in crazy like the SEC and some of the things that you see, but for a West Coast school, it got us the chance to compete with like the Oregons and the Washingtons and the USCs because of that. And yeah, when they finally got those dudes out those trees, I mean, those dudes were sleeping in them trees, man. When they finally got those dudes out those trees and got that operation going, you got to see that really well. So that was pretty dope.
Yeah, I toured the facilities out there a few years ago, and I thought they did a really nice job. I was actually at West Virginia this past weekend, and first time I'd been up to Morgantown, but had never been to a game there. And I have to say, I was pretty impressed. It was a pretty neat environment. They've done a good job. It's not SEC, but the from a facility level, but I thought they did a really good job with the facilities there, and I thought that the crowd was really, really impressive. I think Kirk Herbstreit once said that was the most underrated fan base in the country, and I think he's probably right. Now I saw some interesting things up there.
For sure.
People talk about there's a stigma with Alabama. I mean, go spend some time in West Virginia. But it was an interesting experience. But we won't hold you up too much longer. But make a prediction for this weekend. What's your who's going to win and what's the score?
Well, obviously I'm going for Cal. So obviously we coming all the way down to Alabama to upset. And I'm gonna say. I got to put respect on Auburn name. I'm going to say 28-24 Cal. It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a dog. Now, I will say this. If it ain't close, it's a blowout. And I don't think the blowout goes our way. But if it's close, I think we find a way to squeeze it out. I think our relentless and our toughness is a little stronger than y'all's. That's just my guess. This is my guess.
What do how do Cal's players handle Jordan Hare Stadium?
See, that's gonna be crazy. Thank God I don't have the tiger like LSU. Like, thank God you guys are War Eagles and you got the eagle flying around. But
well, we're actually Auburn is actually the mascot's a tiger.
Right.
The battle cry is War Eagle. So
right.
So you got to there's
I don't have like LSU. I don't have the live tiger sitting at the visiting locker room.
don't have a live tiger. I'm not that. When I was working down at LSU, they used to put that tiger in a cage and take it around the stadium. They had to tranquilize the damn thing. So
it was crazy. But the crowd noise will be completely different. It'll be something that a lot of these kids probably haven't had a chance to experience at any level outside of playing Oregon. Oregon is loud, and it's the way like Oregon it's only 56 or 57,000, but it's the way the stadium is built like a bowl, and they sit on top of you. So they've some of those people have played in those experiences before, but like the whole atmosphere. I mean, you're going to see, I don't know if you guys are doing an orange out or a blue out or a white out. I don't know what you guys are doing. But when you see those and you look at that, big stage, it's going to be a big stage, and hopefully the lights are not too bright. Now kickoff is, I think the disadvantage, kickoff is at like 2, or I think it's advantage. So 2:30, which is 12:30 on our time. So it's not like they're waking up. They got to wake up and play super early in the morning on the body clock. They're going out there Thursday. I do know that. But I think, how they handle the noise, it'll be interesting. I mean, obviously there'll be silent counts and those things. But obviously it's the second week and it's a power 4 or power 5, however they're calling it these days, type of football game. So obviously y'all fans will be way more stoked. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. But I think some of those kids who have that Oregon experience, I think that'll help them because Oregon is pretty loud. If you've ever been to Usson Stadium, it is rocking. It is rocking.
I would guess the humidity will be a little bit heavier in Auburn than it is in the Bay Area.
Completely. Like that's another thing too. Like you can't control the humidity and the heat. And if it's a hot day and the sun is sitting right on the stadium, that can definitely play a part and play a difference too. I mean, we noticed that. I mean, I did that. That was in the National Football League. Like whenever we went to go play in Tampa or whenever we went to go play in Jacksonville or Miami, the game is different. That 1:00 kickoff, the game is different. It's a lot hotter. You're sweating a lot more, right? You got to put more into you. So that's a different routine too. And hopefully, right, Wilcox and them are talking about those things.
Well, CJ, we appreciate you being with us.
Nah, man, thanks for having me anytime.